PC building is back! In this video, I'm gonna build the ultimate value PC price around $1,200, and I also recommend some alternatives so that the price can be below $1,000. You can either build it yourself or buy it straight off Aftershock because they have this 11/11 sale that this PC is gonna cost $1,199. We'll go through the parts later. But if you're watching this at end December or 2025 and either the Aftershock deal is gone, they sold out, or Simlim price gets better, because they do get better, it's just a bit slower, then you should be building it. But for now, I think it's no-brainer to buy it off Aftershock because you can get it shipped to you, it's built for you, there's 3 years warranty with the first year being on-site. But yeah, if you're watching this in 2025, I believe this combination will still be very valuable, still be very valued in 2025. With that said, let's go into the CPU and motherboard combination. The CPU I went for is the AMD Ryzen 5 7600. This will cost you around $220 to $240 with the Gigabyte B650 MD3HP. This will cost you about $180, so the combination will be around $410, $420. And the CPU motherboard combination is actually the factor that's going to make the price from $1,200 to below $1,000. The alternative parts is the 5600 with the B550. With that combination, it's about $280 to $300, so you're saving about $120, $150. But the reason why I went for the 7600 is because in some games, it will bottleneck the 7700 XT that we'll go through it later. It's about 20% faster as well. So I mean, there are some games that it won't bottleneck, but if there's anything to do with CPU intensity, it will bottleneck your GPU and your whole computer. Having a better CPU is also just nice to have. Just using your computer normally, it's just faster, it just feels less laggy. And let's say in the future you want to upgrade your GPU, the 7600 is less likely to bottleneck, or it won't bottleneck as much as the 5600. In my mind, I feel like if you have the 5600, you would want to upgrade it in the next year or two. But if you have the 7600, maybe you can have it for another 3 to 4, 5 years. But it's a lot cheaper. Pros and cons, pros and cons. For the CPU cooler, we're gonna save money. We're gonna just use the stock cooler. But if you want to upgrade the CPU cooler, now these days it's very affordable. You can buy like for $20, even $80 can get you a really big, good one. And with the AMD stock cooler, super easy to install. Just take out the included brackets. And if the AMD cooler came from the stock, like new, then all the thermal paste will be on it already, you can see. Thermal paste. So you really save costs, you don't need to buy additional thermal paste. Just remember to screw it in a crisscross manner, because you don't want to tighten one side too tight. Then we will add the fan header to the CPU fan header. And don't forget to keep your AMD bracket and screws, because if you're gonna install another CPU cooler in the future, some of them do need these brackets. Okay, now let's get into RAM. Now these days, DDR5 RAM are really affordable. I have 2x8 GB of DDR5 memory, 6000 mega transfers per second, CL36. It can go down to $80 to $100 for 16 gigs of RAM. We're gonna add it in, second and last slot. Align? Nope, it's not aligned. Sure you hear the sound. Alright. This build is for gaming, so 16 gigs is enough. If you're gonna have this PC for more productivity, video editing, or you want like 100 tabs of Google Chrome, then you can upgrade to 4x8 or even 4x16 gigs of RAM. In terms of value, 16 gigs, enough. Now is the NVMe SSD. If you go a brand like Samsung, it's really good, really fast, reliable, but expensive. A good alternative is the Lexa NQ700, 1TB Gen 4. This will cost around $120, $150, depending on where you buy, depending on the time you buy. And I've been using their products so far, no problems. So I'm confident to recommend this. And we're all done with the motherboard. So for the case, this is the Rapid Light from Aftershock. I wonder why they don't sell it on their own. It's a good case. If you're building your own PC, it's an equivalent of techwear cases. It's a very essential case. It looks good enough and it just does the job. Nothing too fancy. There's 2 front fans, 1 rear fan. The first thing we gotta do is add the I/O shield. Don't forget to take your screws For MATX board, there are 8 screws, so there should be 8 standoff. So for this case, there is 2 missing standoffs, so just take the standoffs and add it in. Funny story, when I was younger, I added the motherboard straight to the case without any standoff, and the result of it was, every time you hit the case, the PC shuts off. Learn from my mistake. The thing, last time cases didn't come with standoff already installed in the case. We had to do it ourselves. How time change. Okay, now add the motherboard, line up the motherboard to the I/O shield. Then you're gonna need to screw it in, but don't forget, don't screw it too tight. It needs to be tight, but not like extremely tight. So usually when I feel a bit of resistance, I'll just tighten it a little bit more and I stop. With that, I can tell you another story. There was one time when I was younger, I screwed the motherboard so tight, it couldn't even turn on. And I was asking my cousin to troubleshoot the PC, took out the motherboard and realized how tight it was and just loosened every screw and it worked. Learn from my mistakes. Now that is done, we go to the PSU. The recommended PSU wattage for the 7700 XT is around 700 watts, so this is a bit over, but it won't kill. And also this is the only PSU that I can get my hands on. This is the Thermal Right 850 watt 80 plus gold. So this is not modular, meaning more affordable. And with this kind of case, although it's not a lot of space, but you can just cram everything in. So now we're gonna add the power, motherboard cable, CPU power. Before we add the GPU and the GPU power, we're gonna add the front power connectors. We got this, and the USB 3.0. And this is for USB 2.0. And last but not least, the audio. And now we can open up our main event, the 7700 XT. You're gonna expect gaming at 1440p at max settings. No problem. The main reason why I'm featuring this GPU or this whole build in general is because AMD is dropping prices for the 7700 XT like crazy. It's cheaper than the RTX 4060 Ti and run at some games 10 to 20% better. And this 7700 is by Power Cooler. I mean, if you look at it, nothing too fancy. It actually looks like a very good card. This is the side profile. This is the top profile. Set the GPU. Screw it in. Okay, this is a personal habit. You don't really need to do it for this GPU. It's not like a RTX 4090 or something like that. But I rather use 2 different cables of PCIe power than to use this, the combination, So I would zip tie this. Then later on, I will cut this to excess. For now, I'll leave it like this. And really, I'm done. Except, for cable management. But I'm not going to show you guys that, it just takes way too long. If you want to learn how to do cable management, I've done it before. Recommendations. But what I like to do is to power it, make sure it runs. Alright, haven't powered the... Sorry. Make sure it's working in the monitor. Nothing to say. It's been long, okay? It's been 9 months since I built the last PC. There we go. Okay, so now we're at BIOS. Just make sure everything is correct. Motherboard, correct. RAM 16 gigs, which is correct. It's showing 4,800 mega transfers per second, so we're gonna change, probably turn on XMP. CPU temps are good. SSD is in there. Everything seems fine. So I'm gonna cable manage. I'm gonna install Windows, install some games, benchmark the PC. I'm gonna give you the results. And also answer why this combination is the ultimate value PC. And with editing magic, we're gonna go there in 3, 2, 1. And it's done. Install Windows, update the drivers, installed Black Ops, and did a few benchmarks, which we'll go later. At the moment, let's play some Black Ops Zombies. Even though this monitor is 1080p, I turn on virtual resolution, means it can go above 1080p. Let me double check the settings. We're doing 4K Extreme, and I turn off any upscaling or sharpening. So this is pure performance. And we're getting 80 FPS when we shoot my double pistol, explosive pistol, it gets to the 66 FPS. So actually very playable. But you know, if you're a gamer, especially for FPS, you want more than that. So let's try to reduce the resolution because not all people play in 4K anyway. I personally play at 1440p. See how it does at 1440p. Ooh, yeah, a lot smoother. I like it. I like it a lot. Especially this monitor is 540 Hz. So I can feel everything. So without shooting, I'm getting about 115, 120 FPS. See what happens when I start shooting. It gets to lowest is 93, but average is about 100 FPS. Yeah, not too bad. And that's my first impression to using the PC. Pretty impressive for $1,200. I will still do some benchmarks and I will give you the information now. Since it's been long since I've done any benchmarks, I'll explain as we go. First off, 3D Mark. These benchmarks solely test the GPU performance in DX11, DX12 and ray tracing. And let's start off with DX11, which are all games, especially competitive games. You can see the 7700 XT is off to a good start, even beating the RTX 4070. And considering the 4070 is a $750 card and the 7700 XT is now around $350 to $450, this is super impressive. Next is DX12. This is more of the higher end graphical games, more AAA games, which the 7700 XT does pretty well at. Last is ray tracing, which I'm quite surprised. AMD has never been good with ray tracing, but this round, they're keeping up, improving. But really what matters most is actual game performance. Here's a benchmark comparison of 10 games showing the performance improvement from the 4060 Ti to the 7700 XT. So far, every benchmark at 4040p shows the 7700 XT outperforming the 4060 Ti, with performance gains varying across games. The next test will focus on potential CPU bottleneck. Notably, the 5600 does limit the GPU performance in most games, with some titles showing a more significant impact than others. These tests I've done are quite limited with the time I have, but if you have any particular tests or benchmarks you want me to do let me know in the comment section below and I'll do it in the next run. I would say this build is really purely for gamers. To be honest, I haven't done any PC builds for quite some time because there wasn't anything to showcase. The new GPU launch has like blown out of proportion. You have a PC with a 7700 XT that's 1200 and you can actually play games at 4K. But yeah, definitely the best value build so far. I think you shouldn't go anywhere below the 7700 XT unless like Nvidia comes out with an insane deal as well. CPU, you can go a bit lower, 5600. I don't recommend, but you can. It's either you go better or stick to this already. Anything below is just so not worth it anymore. I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you so much for watching. We do more PC build, okay? We do more PC build. I have my $300 budget second-hand build that is due anytime soon. So stick out for that. Remember to subscribe, remember to like, and I'll see you in the next video. And I'm done.